In the middle of Lake Michigan, 30 miles from land in any direction, sits a pristine chain of islands home to endangered shorebirds, boreal forests, and Michigan's rarest wildflower. There are open dunes, rich conifer swamps, and the darkest skies in Michigan.
I find that Beaver Island is special and unique because of, one, our natural heritage that we have, but also our cultural heritage. People respond to both of those deeply.
Here, our natural communities, we have such a variety, we have such a high quality here that you really can't find anywhere anymore.
I can go out every day, to tell you the truth, and I will see something special.
The Beaver Island archipelago is simply paradise for residents, visitors, and scientists alike. Yet the vast biodiversity of flora and fauna is threatened. It's not easy to get to America's Emerald Isle, Beaver Island. You can either take a plane or a 2-hour ferry ride from Charlevoix. That distance has served as a buffer, protecting it from some invasive species plaguing the mainland. It has also slowed development, leaving vast swaths of Beaver Island as wilderness. The Nature Conservancy and UNESCO have both recognized the Beaver Island archipelago's importance to conservation and biodiversity. Scientists and island residents balance demand for homes and tourism with habitat protection for globally rare species like the piping plover and the Michigan monkeyflower.
As much as the islands are special, it makes us very susceptible.
Can anybody tell me what this big one is called?
Maybe a thistle.
Almost, it is a thistle.
Shelby Harris is on the front lines of the fight to keep invasive species off the islands. She lives here and works to educate islanders and visitors about how to protect the environment.
If we allow these invasives to encroach and take over, it's no longer going to be our Beaver Island. It's going to be a completely different system, and most likely not a productive one, to where we're not going to see our birds stop over in our migration. No, it's going to affect our daily lives.
Harris is a Native American with an ancestral connection to the islands. She's concerned about development without thought to the consequences.
Having too many people, having too much development can hurt anywhere, and it can especially hurt here. Like most of the world, habitat loss is one of our biggest threats, specifically shorelines. I believe shorelines are some of the fastest disappearing natural communities, especially for the Great Lakes region, which is where a lot of our threatened and endangered species are.
Shelby isn't working alone. Central Michigan University recognized the island's value for research and established an ecological station here in the 1960s. Don Uzarski is the station's director.
As far as pristine goes, this is as close as it gets. Pristine doesn't exist in the entire world anymore because even atmosphere impacts, mercury is everywhere, the poles, you name it. But this place gives us the best that we can expect, so it's our yardstick.
The station serves as a hub for scientists and as a classroom for students.
So we're doing everything from climate change studies to microplastics to toxicants to invasive species. Every component of that ecosystem we are really covering and we are studying. I don't think you can name one of our Great Lakes issues that we're not at least partially working on.
Wetlands are important to keeping the Great Lakes healthy. Indian Harbor on Garden Island, just north of Beaver Island, is one of the wetlands CMU scientists monitor.
This is one of what we call a benchmark site, so we revisit it every year to see how it's doing. And the reason we chose this site is because this is one of our more pristine sites, so we need kind of a baseline to work from.
Bridget Wheelock is on the monitoring team.
So some fish will be really sensitive to human disturbance or pollution, and if we find those species, it's a good indicator that this might be a more pristine, less disturbed area. If you get here and all you're finding are species that are really tolerant to human disturbance and you're not finding any of those sensitive species, then that might be an indication that you have a more disturbed wetland.
Back off the shore of Beaver Island, Don Uzarski works with private submersible owners to get an up-close look at the bottom of Lake Michigan. Alex Smith of Virginia and Cliff Reedus of Texas brought their underwater machines to assist with CMU's research.
It played just beautifully. They brought 2 submarines. One is quite fast, and the other one can basically hover anywhere like a helicopter, and you get a really good view of the substrate.
Reedus took water samples in Paradise Harbor, while Smith took Uzarski in his sub to examine the bottom for fish habitat.
Today we're very shallow dives. We only went like 40 feet, but it allows you to loiter. You can just stay there. The sub has life support for 3 days. So it actually has 3 days of food and water on board. So you can take your time. And I think that's the beauty. You can be watching something this size, but you can spend all day.
Unfortunately, what they saw wasn't encouraging from an ecological perspective.
Basically today all we saw were invasives or nuisance algae. That it's not invasive, but it's algae that really shouldn't be there because it shouldn't have enough nutrients to be that thick.
So not good habitat for
not good habitat
fish.
One success story on the islands is the comeback of the piping plover.
The plovers are an endangered shorebird that the numbers were critically low in the 80s, and the population has slowly rebuilt to the point now where there's nesting plovers on all 5 Great Lakes.
Bill Parsons is a scientist with the Little Traverse Bay Bands of Odawa Indian. He's been monitoring the plovers on High Island, just to the west of Beaver Island, for the past 20 years.
So this is the best year that we've had for monitoring as far as the total number of adults observed and the number of nests and chicks produced. The population is slowly, incrementally successful. This is culturally significant land for the tribe. One of the things that we strive to manage for in the tribal culture and philosophy is to manage for 7 generations. So we're trying to protect this spot for future generations.
The Beaver Island archipelago is a beautiful and fragile slice of Michigan. It's those who live here that are the most passionate about protecting it.
I've always felt that we are the keepers of the natural resources.
Pam Grasmick is a 4th-generation islander and a longtime environmental advocate for the community.
No one's going to ride in a big white horse and save this island. It's going to take volunteers, it's going to take passion. You can't really achieve anything without passion, and I think that's what the islanders have for this place.
For Harris, protecting the island isn't just her job, it's personal.
I am not a city person. I love being able to drive to the middle of nowhere and see nobody but the animals and plants around me, hear nothing but the waves and the birds, and I just feel that this is home. This has been my family's home for countless generations, and I just feel right being here, and I hope that I'm making my ancestors proud.